You are listening to the Tallest Kaiju Podcast. Thank you for listening to the Tallest Kaiju Podcast. In today's episode, I'm joined by Tarrell Christie, also known on YouTube as Lost Utopia Films. If you've ever been on the Lost Utopia Films YouTube channel, you would see an amazing collection of found footage style Godzilla films. The Griffin, Shelter 54, Sub-Zero Terror. I absolutely love the content. Please go check it out. And please tune into today's episode where him and I are going to discuss Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. Thank you for listening. All right, so first things first. What was your introduction to Kaiju cinema, and how has that affected your trajectory as an artist?
Yeah, I was introduced. It's hard to say because I was really little. It was either my dad or my grandpa. I just remember having this huge. I think it was pretty much like all of the original Godzilla movies from Gojira, or I guess the American one, King of the Monsters, to Terror of Mechagodzilla, and I was just like obsessed with it. Really loved it. And then, later discovering there's even more movies out there that they made in the 90s and, in the early 2000s. So I was really always obsessed with it. And it's really kind of, as far as me, like being like a filmmaker, it's kind of, I say like an essential foundation piece to it. Like even if I'm doing stuff that's not necessarily Godzilla related, that was always the stuff that initially, like, I was like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. Before I even knew like making movies was really a thing. Like I originally wanted to be a comic book artist, but my skills kind of just like plateaued around like 11 years old. So I was like, I got to figure out a different way. And I kind of just fell into filmmaking, and now it's kind of just come full circle where I'm making some kaiju stuff.
Yeah, that's really awesome, especially to be introduced at like a really young age. And so you said it was a collection of those first like few Godzillas. Yeah, that. Because I didn't get a chance to see a lot of those until later, but there were like, it was like the King Kong vs. Godzilla, the original, and some other ones. But to be able to get like a bunch of them from the beginning, I think that's pretty dope too. But when it comes to like, I guess out of that collection that your dad had, what was your favorite?
My favorite probably was King Kong versus Godzilla. That was. I mean, the smackdown at the end was just like, that's I remember there was one moment specifically, I was really obsessed with the ending where they fall off the cliff into the water. Mm-hmm. I watched it so much. I still have the VHS. Like that part is kind of damaged. Like it doesn't fully play right because I just watched it over and over. So that one is just like, it's one of those movies where I just have watched it so much that I know when the sound effects are coming, and like all the music cues. Like that one's. I still say that's my favorite. There's probably better Godzilla movies, but that one is still, I say that's my favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you can't go wrong with there's a gif of it everywhere where I think it's King Kong shoving the tree in Godzilla's mouth. Hilarious. Yeah, that one's definitely a classic. And I'm glad that they got to it in the Monsterverse nowadays. You know. They get to play with each other now, years later.
It's crazy. I never pictured it as a kid to be in like this Godzilla renaissance. It's crazy.
Yeah. And did you hear that Toho's talking about releasing like simultaneous Godzilla releases moving forward?
I'm all for like bringing on more Godzilla. Let's do it.
Yeah, because I mean we've got the -1 universe, and now I imagine they're gonna either continue Shin or they're gonna have like another one coming up. Just like fuck yeah,
Yeah, I'm so hyped.
But speaking of Godzilla, would you like to introduce our focus of today's episode?
Yeah, so today we're talking about Ebirah, Horror of the Deep. This one is a personal favorite of mine because I like to say it's kind of like Godzilla on vacation. It's very much just. We're away from like the cities. We're away from, we're just kind of chilling on an island with probably one of my favorite human character casts of the Godzilla movies. Like, you kind of got like the comedic relief character. You got, the real serious kind of leader. And the native woman that they find. Like, it's just, for me, one of my probably top five favorite Godzilla movies. It's groovy. The music is so different. And yeah, I love it, and I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's goofy in a good way, I think, with a lot of just how it is. It is a little more serious with some of the things that happen in it, but
Hmm.
I was able to catch it not too long ago on one of these YouTube channels. I forget which one it was. I don't know if it was a Toho official one, but they were playing like, I think they had Ebirah, All Monsters Attack, and
Oh
like
yeah,
three other ones just playing. It was a marathon for like a whole week or something like that.
yeah.
Um, but I also have a sweater, and it's like this pink sweater, and it's got Ebirah on it. It's one of my
Oh, that's
favorites to
sweet.
wear. Because I always love the obscure like Godzilla characters, like the ones that
Hmm.
you don't see around as often.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
Ebirah is definitely one of those.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and one of the things I found super interesting about it is that Toho didn't want Ebirah to be bipedal like a lot of Godzilla's
Hmm.
opponents, because they
Yeah,
thought it wouldn't be interesting.
yeah.
Which I do agree with that, because when you think about it, and since then and now, some of the more interesting opponents against Godzilla are ones that aren't, either we've got the flying ones, but then we've only got like a few of them that are, they crawl around, they're on all fours or whatever, like
Yeah.
female Muto from 2014, for instance.
Hmm.
I think it creates a really cool dynamic, and it's more immersive because when you see a bunch of bipedal monsters fighting each other, you're like, okay, that's obviously guys in suits, right? Because
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
we're bipedal. Like it's
Hmm.
just it's harder to immerse yourself or suspend disbelief. But when you have something like Ebirah or other non-bipedal monsters, it's like, okay, now that actually looks kind of like a creature. It helps with
Yeah.
that perspective.
Yeah. Ebirah, especially, I feel like was really cool for its time because if I remember right, that's the first movie where we see Godzilla actually fight underwater. Like we actually go underwater with him and we see that type of battle. Um, so yeah, mixed with just like I feel like there's not a lot of shots where you actually fully see Ebirah's body because of it's not bipedal and it's they don't have something to keep it up. And I feel like it honestly works better because like as a kid watching it, like I could never figure out just like what exactly he looked like. Like his body was either always underwater or obscured. Yeah, a really interesting opponent, and I'm sure we'll get later into how it relates to King Kong and whatnot. Um, but a very different kind of monster to see Godzilla fight from what we've had up to that point. Um, and yeah, I think it is a really cool trend that we see monsters that are kind of go further outside of what would be like restricted to a person in a costume. I think like King Ghidorah, I think, for example, is one of the monsters I think with CGI comes to life better than they probably did practically. Um, like not to diss the classic King Ghidorah because I love him,
Right.
but it was just heads kind of on strings and they're kind of not really, And then you see King of the Monsters and King Ghidorah just really comes to life and has personality and but yeah, really long way of saying really do love how Ebirah is just a very different kind of monster that Godzilla fought at that time.
Yeah, and thinking about it now in New Empire, I think it was it Scylla or Scylla, that more
Mm,
like not really an arachnid, but like that's another one that's not bipedal. And
yeah,
yeah, I guess they have a shitload of them now that I think about it in the MonsterVerse. But yeah, I always think that that's such a cool way to do it. Um, Especially because like I already said about all the other villains before then are either you got Mothra flying or you got them just more men in suits,
yeah,
just boxing
yeah,
with each
exactly.
other. um but you did just mention King Kong, and this originally was supposed to be a King Kong movie, which is also super interesting,
Yeah,
because like I think you said it best when you said this is like Godzilla on vacation and
yeah,
he's away from
yeah,
everything, and it's like it's because it's a King Kong movie, but we have
yeah,
Godzilla at the forefront.
yeah.
So it's I don't know. I love that idea where it's just like they're setting up, they're getting all the shit ready, and then they're like, you know what, like Godzilla instead, and you just swap it out, and you just
Yeah,
still run with it. I think
yeah,
there's like a scrappiness to that's pretty dope.
yeah. It's funny how many times there seems to be almost like a King Kong movie, and then last minute they're like, no, we got to make it Godzilla or something, you know. And yeah, and it's funny too that it was going to be Kong because that would have, had it happened, been another movie where Kong fights some type of aquatic. Like that seems to be a weird running trend where he's fighting octopuses or these krakens, or you'd think Kong being a land monster, you'd fight more of those, but we keep seeing him fight these an aquatic, and it makes sense for that one, because why would Godzilla struggle with a giant lobster? I don't really know.
Right.
That would be a challenge for Kong. But it is so cool. Just you can definitely tell that, like with Godzilla's weird connection with the woman on the island, and just all these little moments that it makes for an interesting Godzilla movie, knowing that it was supposed to be King Kong.
Yeah, and I think it especially speaks to just how well those two characters work with each
Yeah,
other and separate of each other, and why they're at the forefront of kaiju cinema at this point.
yeah,
Um, just because, like, I wouldn't say it's like nicely interchangeable, but like it's still interchangeable. I'm sure
yeah.
there's a story somewhere where 2014's Godzilla could have been a King Kong movie.
Right. Yeah.
Um, I don't know how you would get like how you'd make it work, but Godzilla fighting two Muto, or King Kong fighting two Mutos, I could see it.
That'd be
Because
so
they're like
cool.
bug type of creatures, and
Yeah.
I see that vibe there. But yeah, no, it definitely speaks to those two, and I think that it's fascinating. Um, and another thing about this, and Ebirah being like the cool little lobster monster thing that it is, I guess
Mhm.
after this one, it didn't come back until 2004's Final Wars.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, did Godzilla kill Ebirah at the end of this, or did he just scurry off into the ocean?
At the end of the original movie.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it ends with Godzilla rips off. I'm pretty sure he rips off Ebirah's claws, and then yeah, I think you see Ebirah just go off into the ocean. Maybe Godzilla hits him with atomic breath one last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Because yeah, Ebirah is just another one of the roster that you see once and then you like never see again, really, except
Hmm.
here and there.
Yeah.
Which is really funny too, because there's another creature that's in this one, giant condor, that showed up another time.
Hmm.
Um, and a lot of people joke about giant condor coming into the monsterverse to some capacity,
You're right.
and like the OG or like the obscene or obscure Godzilla fans are just like, we want giant condor.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's another one of my favorite things about these types of Godzilla installments is that you get those that quirky, charming, obscure little characters in the lore of
Mhm.
that. And you don't get that as much any like afterwards. Like I guess when they're trying to be more kid friendly, you get a little bit more of that quirkiness, but not in always a good way. Like I'm not a fan
Right.
of All Monsters Attack, really. Um, I think Giant Condor comes back in that one, right? For like
Yeah.
two
Yeah, that one.
seconds.
Yeah, they were used with pretty much a lot of past movies in that one.
Yeah, yeah, that one just ridiculous though, but I love it too. But with Ebirah and some of the ones with a similar style, I definitely feel like that's something that the MonsterVerse nowadays could probably use.
Mm.
But it's hard because with like how they've done similar things, it doesn't always hit because they give us Doug,
Right.
Doug, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I think it would hit more if instead of giving us just Doug, they had like an OG character, and it was like the
Mm.
like a silly little like quirky side thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably at least for me, very selfishly, it would make me feel a little better about it. But
Yeah. I mean, there's so many characters to pull from. It's like infinite possibilities.
yeah, absolutely. Um, And the cool thing about Ebirah and Godzilla facing off is that their origins are very similar. The Red Bamboo terrorist organization from this movie, they had a bunch of nuclear waste, and that led to, the creation, the development of Ebirah,
Hmm.
and that's exactly what happened with Goji.
Hmm.
Got hit
Yeah.
with some radiation, some nuclear energy, and kind
Yeah.
of blew up.
Yeah. That's one thing I love uh, about Ebra is just a Godzilla villain. It's just like, yeah, like it's just another kind of radioactive sea monster. Like it just, you can almost feel like there's probably battles they have off screen underwater. We just have never known about it, you know? Um, and I love the way that they tie the Red Bamboo, which I'm pretty sure is like the first terrorist organization in the Godzilla series.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so. Thinking
yeah,
about it, yeah.
yeah. And I don't think they ever came back after that movie, but they were, I mean, the villains in the old Godzilla movies, the human ones, I always love them. They're always sometimes over the top, and but yeah, and I like that with Ebra they figured out it was the first movie where they figured out that like if they use that fruit that Ebra actually won't attack them, and if they spray it from their ships.
Yep.
So that was cool that we kind of got to see like, oh, they actually have like a deterrent system against giant monsters. So yeah, really cool. I love the Red Bamboo. I hope to somehow intertwine them into my series some way.
Oh, you definitely have that capability, and I think people would like the Godzilla fans would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah.
See the return of them, and um, has Ebirah showed up in any of your shorts?
No, so it's funny. There's a crab monster I introduced a couple videos ago called Canira.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
and it's basically Ebera is just Japanese for giant shrimp, and so Canira just means giant crab. Because I couldn't find an Ebera model, so I created like his crab cousin, basically is what I call him. And I use like a pitched modified version of Ebera's roar. So there's still a little bit of that like DNA in there. Um, but yeah, once a model comes available for him, I'm definitely hoping to fit him in there somewhere.
It's going to be the true sequel to Horrors of the Deep.
Yeah,
Gets a
yeah.
that would be amazing. I also when reading up about this, because I mean it's been a while since I watched it. I did rewatch it maybe I think a couple weeks ago, but they tried to use a placebo deterrent for Ebera, and it didn't work for them. I think that
Yeah,
that's funny too. That
yeah,
they're just like, let's try this instead, and it's just like, no, that didn't fucking work at all.
yeah.
um, but the idea of a deterrent, I think, is always fascinating for kaiju films
Hmm.
because I think it's and I had a conversation with someone recently about this that like there's a purity when it comes to monsters in general because like a monster is just an animal and it's going to do its naturalistic impulses, right? It's going to want to eat and do whatever. Um, so it's not always the plan to like hunt it or whatever, or you use it to protect you. Like Red Bamboo was able to be on this island. They had their deterrent, and then anybody else who tried, Ebirah was able to just fight them off. But
Right.
I like this idea that like monsters are pure in their intentions. It's just nature,
Hmm.
and for one of the things for humanity to kind of fight against them, it's like let's just like try to deter it. Like we're not
Yeah.
going to engage, try to kill it, but
Yeah.
let's just try to make it like not see us in the wild type thing.
Yeah.
The same way that like you've got insect repellent and shit like that. Like
Yeah.
I just think it's cool when you take something like a kaiju and it really brings it down to like, okay, this is just an animal. It's massive, but at the end of the day, it is just a creature that um you could kind of try to avoid like other creatures,
Right. Yeah, that's something I wish they played with that idea in Godzilla Raids Again, where they figured that if they turned off the lights of Tokyo, that they thought that maybe those lights were like triggering to Godzilla or something. So they turned them off and Godzilla could just be led away with flares. And then they just never really like picked that up again. And I thought that was such an interesting way to look at it is like, yeah, of course, to him the lights probably do look like an explosion or something, and he's just angry all the time. And I always wish they did kind of. I wish they went more into, instead of fighting the monsters, how about we just kind of adapt to how they are and just kind of live around them. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, and that's something that, even nowadays they should explore more. Off the top, I think Godzilla 2014 had something similar with the way that they tried to move the Mutos around. They had like the nuclear bombs, and they would move it just to try to lure it away from somewhere. So there's like tidbits of that, but I would love for it to be more of like a I don't want to say plot device because that sounds negative, but something like a plot device. Experience that a little bit more. I think Monarch might a little bit. I'm not caught up on season 2, but being down in the trenches with the people in that show with like these creatures around, if not that specifically, like deterrence and things of that nature, like you said, with shutting off the lights, you get other versions of that, having it more grounded, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But with the biggest missed opportunity is instead of having Titan X, a sea-based monster in Monarch, they should have had Ebirah.
That would have been sweet. Just give a whole season.
Yeah, even though like if you relook at the fights and everything, Ebirah sucked and was not that much of a challenge to Godzilla, but just do it for the fans, man.
I know. Yeah, I'm like, I know there's licensing fees, but I'm like, really, how much are they charging for that guy? Like, they can't all just be an equal price, right? Like, they gotta. There has to be a lower tier of monsters you can pay for,
Right, like Giant Condor. Like, how much do you think Toho's gonna have you pay for that?
Right, exactly.
Do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss about Ebirah? Any other points?
Ooh. Let me think. I will say this movie was probably, as a kid, like the first real like stressful movie experience I had, in that do you remember there's like an entire scene of where there's just this button slowly going down? And I think if the button eventually reaches a certain point, the entire island blows up or something. And the characters have their hand in this thing trying to reach it, and they're just so close to it, but it just keeps going down. Yeah, do you remember this part?
No, I don't think so, but
because there's like this alarm blaring the whole time. I just remember as a kid, like that part always just stressed me out. And that's just something I just always remember of this movie, is just how stressful that part was to me as a kid.
Yeah, and now that you bring it up, I mean, moments of tension like that is something that it felt, at least to me, with revisiting the series more often now, it feels so rare. Like, I don't, at least in the back in the day, there wasn't as much tension, right? It was like, big monster fight. Here's like these almost cartoonish villains with guns, and the humans are trying to stop them. But yeah, I think that's another thing that would make it very would have made it more, I guess, effective as like an interesting sci-fi monster movie, is a little more tension to add in there.
Yeah,
because we like the stakes was always just like big monster. But something like the introduction to that button, I think that's really compelling. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah.
Because I know, not that specifically, but I definitely remember being a kid and watching certain movies, and you're just like freaking out.
You're right.
If you have anxiety nowadays, it's probably because of some of those movies you watched.
Yes, exactly.
But no, that's really fascinating. But if that is it, switching gears to the cooler part of the episode today, which is Lost Utopia Films, and all the cool shit you're doing over there. What was the genesis of Lost Utopia Films? I see that the oldest video on your YouTube channel is 17 years old, which that's insane. So you've been messing around with the camera for a long time. At what point did you realize these Godzilla films were kind of like what you want to do, at least within the last couple years?
Yeah, yeah. So I started. I think it's changed name. I've been Lost Utopia Films since I think 2015, um, and that one I've just really stuck with because yeah, before that, I mean, I made the account when I was in middle school, so I think I was like Fear Films at one point. I think I was Ice Studios at another point, um, and then yeah, now we've landed on Lost Utopia, and yeah, the Godzilla stuff was kind of an interesting um development because up until then, aside from a Spider-Man fan film I did, I was pretty much only doing the original stuff. It was actually during COVID. Uh I was just, I mean, quarantine, there was just not a lot to do, and I got really interested um in seeing like what would it take to kind of pull off this Godzilla stuff in something like Blender. I had a little bit of experience in it. Um and so I kind of just had time to really just kind of dive in for like a couple of years, work on that. Um, and then I did the first video, which was called The Griffin. Um, and people really like that. And so I was like, okay, if people are down for this, let me make this into a series. So then after that, every episode was kind of scripted, and now there's like an overall plan. Um, and it's almost, I'd say we're probably towards the end of, uh, the story I'm trying to tell with it. Um, and it's just been like, I love making them, but 3 years of making them, they're the biggest projects I've made easily by far. Um, but yeah, it's been a fun pivot, and I mean, it's making Godzilla stuff. Like I get stressed, like you always get stressed making anything, but I try to just remind myself like, hey, I'm just making Godzilla stuff. It's just Godzilla. It's just keep it chill.
Right, right. Was the Griffin inspired by the original idea for 1998's Godzilla?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So it's that Griffin monster, and then um my idea was that, oh, it'd be cool if we had the two American Godzillas fight the one American monster that was, unmade type of thing. And I'm a huge fan of Cloverfield, so that was obviously like a big inspiration on the entire series. So yeah, it was kind of just taking a like the series as a whole. I guess Project Monster, really, I like taking unused concepts and stuff that um you only like would read about on Wikipedia pages, because like as a kid those would really just get my imagination going.
Right.
So the Griffin is one of those monsters that I was like, I kind of want to fill in some gaps, kind of give my take on like what it might be like, what it might sound like, what it might move like. And so yeah, that's where the inspiration for that came from.
And then have you been using Blender for all of them? Right? Is that the software you've been kind of playing in the sandbox of?
Yeah, yeah. So Blender I use for the animating, and then um After Effects is where I, kind of put everything together. And then Premiere I do the final editing, sound effects, all that stuff.
Oh, cool. Adobe. A lot of people I talk to nowadays, they're on DaVinci now, but
Yeah, they're all
um,
jumping.
yeah. But I remember years ago when I wanted to get into film, I was really into Adobe. Because at that point, I mean, that was also it was Final Cut and Adobe Premiere.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so that's yeah. And what's the music one called?
Oh, Audition.
Audition. Right, right, right.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you pay for the subscription, or have you been able to get like?
No, I got it. I unfortunately have to pay for
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I don't fall. I mean, I don't really have a uh what's the expression, dog in the fight, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a real side to pick in like the Da Vinci versus
Oh,
Premiere.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for me it's just kind of whatever gets you from point A to point B,
Yeah,
whatever.
absolutely. And I think if there wasn't such like a because I stopped being interested in Adobe when it came to like the creative studio like subscription.
Yeah.
I like being able to just like pay up front and like you have it, which is how
Yeah,
it was
100%.
before. But when I
Hmm.
was in high school, I definitely pirated some
Oh,
softwares.
for
Um,
sure.
those were the good old days. Now I doubt you could even get away with that because companies
Right.
know and they'll catch you if you try.
Yeah.
But still, that's super cool to hear though. Because like I said, I used to be into Adobe, and those have been really great tools, and I'm sure they're even better now.
Mhm.
So that's really interesting. Like, so you use Blender and Adobe After Effects and Premiere. So how long is that creation process once you get the idea? You know, from getting the idea, writing it, and then just like going in and executing everything.
Yeah. It varies because like some projects, like the last one I did, Sub-Zero Terror, for example, that had um some live action parts with like, actors and stuff. So that one kind of stretched the timeline because like scheduling and whatnot, that made it uh take a little bit longer. Um I'd say if I were to like average it, I'd say roughly from like writing to creation, it's probably like 6-ish months, I'd say. But I usually will work on that on and off over a period of about a year. Um, just so I don't burn myself out and get too
Mhm.
under, you know, pressure with making these things and whatnot. Um, yeah, I try to I try to not to go past a year in between videos.
Yeah, because I think especially for shorts, if you devote too much time, too many resources, um, sometimes there's not always an ROI, a return on investment with shorts.
Yeah, for
It's a
sure.
little cooler when it's Godzilla because like it's an IP and you know people are gonna watch it, but
Yeah,
you don't want to like sacrifice so much time into that. Um,
right. 100%.
and you're the only one who's doing the effects and everything, like all that editing, all the software.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you definitely would
yeah.
burn out fast if you just tried to like
Yeah,
marathon
I'm
it.
working on a video right now that's kind of a making of video because a lot of people just haven't they don't really know who's behind these. They don't know like like my stories or inspirations behind making it. So I'm excited to do that and kind of hopefully shed a light on the process. I'm always like a little nervous to show it just because like I consider myself a noob still to it, and so I don't want to give people the wrong info. But I figure I'll just show them how I do it, and they can do with the info, what they will.
Right. Can you give like a little peek into what that, what you're going to discuss in that video? Like
Yeah.
anything you could talk to right now?
Yeah, so mainly, one of the things I would talk about is a big thing for me was I didn't really want to do outside of like the animating. I didn't want to do like the compositing work, like explosions and blending that and stuff in Blender because I just didn't. I'm more comfortable in After Effects. Like I have years worth of experience. So I basically was figuring out that there's a code where you can send a 3D camera from Blender to After Effects. So I'd get my animations in there. So then essentially I could just drop in explosions, whatever, and it would be perfectly camera tracked to it. So I'm pretty much going to just kind of show like, it was a lot of workshopping. Like it was probably, like I said, it was maybe like a year or two before I actually did the first video because it was a lot of just uh, research in the lab, just figuring out how can I make this possible within my skill set and kind of um yeah, just I guess hide some of the faults of being like found footage and not having the skills and whatnot.
Right. Yeah, I'd love to see that because I love anything behind the scenes. Um and I'm sure your fans will really appreciate that. You know, get a little peek behind the
Mhm.
curtain and just see how that all goes. That
Yeah,
would be
for
pretty
sure.
dope. So and you mentioned it a little bit earlier about how you used to do originals, except for that Miles Morales fan film you did.
Hmm.
So you did things like The Crooked Place and The Field.
Hmm.
Once you kind of wrap up this Godzilla, this Project Monster stuff, is your plan to go back into like originals and get out there and
Yeah,
make
I'm
shit,
actually yeah, for sure. I'm probably gonna try and fit in. I don't know if I'll post it yet, but I'm gonna try and film something um original next just because yeah, like I love Godzilla. I've been in the world for a little too long. I need to take a step back and just kind of get fresh ideas, and whatnot. Um, some the goal I'm challenging myself is to do uh, some original stuff, especially because I mean I enjoy animating, but I don't consider myself an animator, and I feel like I've done these so long that now people are starting to call me an animator, which is fine. But I'm like I like movies, I like making movies, so I kind of and I do miss interacting with like actors and being on set. Um, like being behind a computer is fine, but it's not the full experience I'm looking for. But yeah, once Godzilla's wrapped up, it's probably gonna be a pretty hard pivot back into just um original stuff. Hopefully, people still stick around, and if you like my Godzilla stories, I think you'll probably still dig some of the stuff I'm doing. Um, but yeah, that's the journey so far.
Yeah, that I'm definitely looking forward to that because I love the originals. I think I don't remember if it was Crooked Place or The Field, but they had laurels on them from like film festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
were any of those like film festivals like the in-person festivals where you could go and play it for a crowd, or were a lot
yeah.
of these? Which I guess what was the best part of that experience? Like, where were you, and how was it to showcase that work in front of a crowd?
Ooh. Well, what sucks is the biggest festival it played at, um, which is I believe it's in Florida. It's called Spooky Empire. That one I wish I went to because that one they have like, um, I mean you got like Freddy Krueger there, like you get like all the OG like actors and stuff. I
Oh,
wish so,
nice.
I wish so badly I was there in person. But it's played at some local stuff. I'm in Iowa area, so I've played it in some local stuff and yeah, I mean horror movies with the crowd. That's just what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
next to, I haven't done a comedy, but I'm sure that probably feels, really satisfying when like a joke lands. But um, no, horror movies are cool. I always love just creeping people out.
Yeah, and I've noticed that's probably the best community, especially if you're starting out as a filmmaker.
Mhm.
Might be
Yeah,
best to just make horror because the community is just so great and supportive.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I've my roots were pretty much on YouTube and horror, and yeah, it's. I mean, you'll get some mean people every now and then, but for the most part, people just really they eat up horror. Like I've noticed even with like Godzilla stuff, like the more I lean into horror stuff, it seems to be more popular than uh some of the lighter Godzilla stuff, which is really interesting to me because I kind of it seems like I probably prefer darker Godzilla, but I'm actually kind of the lighter stuff is where my heart is. It's just the stories I've told so far have been kind of
Right.
more on that darker side of Godzilla, but um yeah.
That's yeah, I can understand that. I think before you get out of the sandbox though, you should make your version of like All Monsters Attack, like a super light-hearted
Uh,
just completely opposite of how you've been doing it.
yeah.
No, but that yeah, I think that's really interesting too from the horror perspective there. So with your original or originals, coming in the future, are you
Mhm.
going to stick with horror? Is that kind of like your going to be your
I think
foundation?
I think horror will definitely always be around because that's probably I feel like it's the one I'm most comfortable kind of falling back into, I guess. But I do also I'm really looking to kind of uh challenge myself. Like I have a drama script I really want to get made. Um I've weirdly been in the mood to try romance. I've never tried a romance film before, but I'm like, let's I don't know, I'm just kind of interested in really experimenting and yeah, I don't know, just kind of playing with like a range of genres. I don't like to be in one thing for too long, so I try to mix it up if I can.
Yeah, for sure. And when you say romance, like how do you envision a romance? Because there's different layers to that. So like you write a romance, what would be a movie you would compare it to? I guess.
Hmm, that's a good question. I mean, if I were to go, it would probably be something a little more like have you seen Submarine? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, yeah. I love stuff like it'd probably be just kind of like a little cute indie, like just that kind of little. I love that type of um stuff. But I don't know, it would be fun to just go hardcore into just like something really dramatic, like I don't know, something gothic. Like I don't know what I compare it to. I guess Worthing Heights. That's probably the most recent thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It'd just be fun to experiment.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I think playing around with a bunch of different genres in general is a practice that I think probably most filmmakers should do.
Yeah.
Even if they're not gonna make something immediately with it, just as a writing
Hmm.
practice, it's
Yeah,
great.
for sure.
Um, you said that you've worked on sets before on
Hmm.
things that aren't your own projects.
Yeah.
What kind of sets were those? I'd love to
I
know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I'd say mainly short films, like fellow filmmakers. I helped on one indie horror film before. That was like 10 years ago. Um, but yeah, I love set life, honestly. Like no matter what, I don't know. It's just there's just an energy when you're making movies that like I love to be in it, and I feel sad when I'm not in it. And I'm like an introvert, so I feel like it's kind of my only. I reserve filming for like that's my social time. Like that's where I save my social battery for. Um, so yeah, it's just fun. I love it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like whether you're just like a PA or helping with camera or anything. I
Mhm.
think when the vibes are good, it's great. Um,
Yes, this is very true. Yeah, when the
and
vibes are not good,
yeah,
then
then
it's
it's just like, why are
then
we
it's the worst
here?
thing ever. Yeah.
But no, that's super cool. Do you still help out, or you don't have as many local filmmakers around you?
I'm trying. I'm making a goal for myself to try and. I mean, that's kind of a thing that sucks too with being like a specialist filmmaker is a lot of times when people do want to collaborate, it's just visual effects stuff. Um, so it still kind of keeps me behind the computer, but it's like, hey guys, I'm down to carry stuff. I'm
Right.
down to help you. Um, but I do have some shoots I'm helping out later this summer that I'm hoping kind of gets me in motion. I'm just like hanging out on some sets more because yeah, I've been behind the computer too much. I need to get back out there.
Touch grass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's awesome. Um, so I guess you can include film stuff too, but just in general, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Woo. That's a tough one. I'd like to be still doing videos work in some fashion. Because just recently in the last year I transitioned to freelance editing. And that's been fun trying to learn the ups and downs of freelancing. So I'd hope in 5 years I maybe get that figured out. And I'd say probably 5 years have the Godzilla series wrapped up for sure. And hmm, I'd say in 5 years, I would like to at least be writing a feature. It doesn't have to be done, but I would like to at least be writing one.
And do you think that feature would be probably horror?
Yeah, probably something like a horror sci-fi. Yeah, I've written some features, but I haven't like gone like fully created one. Um, so I probably would do something a little in my sandbox for that first one, just to, I guess, just have that a little bit of that confidence that I know what I'm getting myself into. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what do you have a camera currently?
Yeah.
What kind of camera is it?
Right now it is the Blackmagic 6K.
Oh, nice. I've got a buddy who's been filming his feature with that.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Black
love it.
Magic is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very just like filmmaker intuitive. Like they know what you're looking for on like a display screen. Like, yeah, I love it.
That's really dope. And in the picture, I'm pretty sure it looks really good with that
Hmm.
too. The thing about nowadays with technology though, like there's so many options for you to get that cinematic look.
Mm,
And there's so many good cameras. And the good thing about Black Magic is they're like they're not super expensive to get
mm,
to.
right.
Which makes it like amazing because you're not shelling out like $6,000 to get a camera. Um, but I was talking to someone the other day and they filmed their short on their iPhone. And that's something you
Oh
see a
yeah,
lot, right? Like the 28
yeah.
Years Later movie, you got, except with 28 Years Later, I'm not going to say they shot it on an iPhone. Like they technically did, but it was like a bunch
Oh
of souped up iPhones. Like it's
yeah,
not
yeah. I don't count
conventional.
those. Yeah, I don't count those.
Yeah, it probably cost thousands of dollars to create all those rigs. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But no, that's super dope. Yeah, Black Magic seems super reliable.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I'm trying to get out and film with it more. because yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Did you the live action stuff for Sub-Zero, was that, did you film it, or there were people that filmed it and sent you the footage?
There was a mix. So I filmed the stuff with like the main characters, the scientists. I filmed that. Um, but then the stuff where it was like the soldiers in the snow and whatnot,
Hmm.
that was actually a crew that lives 2 hours away. They knew the guy who helped me produce the video, and so they helped out and just went out in the winter for like 2 hours and just grabbed some footage. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll definitely make something out of this. So
Yeah, that's super awesome. I
yeah,
love that. The collaborative, the collaborative process for filmmaking is just always so incredible,
yeah, for sure.
But awesome, man. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming and talking with me. I
Of
had a great
course.
time. We got to bring up the good old little lobster boy, Ebirah. And yeah, I love hearing about your work. You've been making some really fascinating things, and I can't wait to see what you continue to do.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me on. It was an honor.